If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Talladega County Probate Judge Randy Jinks joins us for a few minutes this morning. Randy, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Jim Dale.
Good to have you with us today. And, this COVID-19 started back, I first knew about it in March, I guess. And it's been a long time forever, hasn't it?
It's been a long year, Jimmy Dale. This is the first election year I've gone through since getting elected and taking office. And
tried by fire.
I've been baptized in fire. Right about the primary back in March is when COVID just started hitting, and then I guess about a week or 10 days after the primary, the governor extended the runoff from 4 weeks to 4 months. And, we went through the county, we went through the shutdown for a month at the courthouse, and then we got around to trying to round up enough poll workers to get the runoff completed.
And that wasn't easy either.
No, because people are afraid and they're scared and they're concerned, and most of our poll workers are seniors. But we had 183, I guess, brave souls come forward. I was proud that we had that large a number of people willing to come and work and help us get this done. But it's been a trying year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And with the death of State Representative Ron Johnson, and that's another election process that, man, we get lost. And Ron was a great guy. You never thought that he would pass like this suddenly, but it happened.
It did. And then a city school board member, I think, passed away unexpectedly last week in Talladega. So that's going to be a special election. So it's like it won't end, but hopefully we'll get through it.
How much of this comes under your leadership? And I know the courthouse was closed essentially, several days last week due to COVID?
Courthouse was closed from around 10 o'clock last Tuesday through the week to the general public. The revenue office had a outbreak of COVID. I think that's all taken care of now, but all those employees were sent home for the week, and the rest of us, we worked. I mean, we still have work to do even if people can't come in the courthouse. But I think everything's back to normal now.
And a number of people were tested, and a number of them tested negative for it.
Yeah, I had 3 or 4 employees in my office after the courthouse was closed last Tuesday. They took it upon themselves to go get tested, and they all were negative. And I said, and that's a positive. But we've been fortunate in the probate office. We're around a lot of people. We take precautions. We wear masks going in the courthouse. We wear masks every time we go to the restroom or leave the office. We use a lot of hand sanitizer. I'm not afraid of getting sick, but with the election coming up, I cannot afford, nor do I have time to get sick.
Yeah, certainly this has been a trying time for our country, including Alabama, including Talladega County. And Talladega County was one of the last counties so far to have been affected more adversely by COVID in the last 2 or 3 months. Looks like it's beginning to wane a little bit now, but it's really been challenging in the last 2 or 3 months.
Well, for months, I would ask people, do you know anyone personally that has COVID? And their answer was no, and my answer was no, until Barry Vaughn got it. And after Barry got it, it's been close. It's been close around me, but fortunately we've avoided it so far.
Okay. Talk about the probate judge's office. How long have you been in office now?
A year and 9 months.
Is that why the color of your hair has changed a little bit?
Well, probably, and it's thinner too. I pull some of it out.
So talk a little bit about what's going on with the probate judge's office now and your staff, and what's going to be coming up in the future here.
Well, we have a great staff, but right now on the front burner is the election. October 19th, for anyone interested, is the last day for people to register to vote. October the 29th is the last day for you to submit an absentee ballot. Also, October 29th is the last day that you can go to the Judicial Building in Talladega and physically walk in and do an on-site absentee, cast your vote in person on site. And then November the 2nd is the last day to get an absentee ballot in to Big County. If you have an absentee ballot and you have it on the day of the election, and you'll go to the post office in Talladega, if you walk in, just say, put this in the circuit clerk's post office box, then they'll go ahead and do that and get it in also. But those are dates to remember leading up to the election.
So we really wouldn't focus as much on these dates normally, but with COVID, everything's on the table now.
Well, I talked to the circuit clerk yesterday, and he said they have about 1,100 absentee ballots. He said they had about 1,200 and something 4 years ago. I think when President Obama was elected, they had 1,300 and something, but he thinks that we will have a record number this year, although maybe not as many as some people would have thought with COVID being so prevalent on everybody's mind.
No doubt about it. Randy Jinks, probate judge of Talladega County, our guest this morning on Daybreak Live. And you were over at the event at Jay's last night with the presidential debate, the first presidential debate. And most stories I'm seeing, I didn't watch it because it passed my bedtime, but a lot of people thought, wow, they got to do better than this.
Well, we had a good crowd over there last night. I want everybody to know, except when I was speaking, I wore my mask. I was one of the few that had a mask on, but I said, I can't afford to get sick. I had a long day yesterday, but after the debate last night, I was just literally exhausted. I don't think they...
Was it from watching them, or was you just
Well,
had a
I
long
was
day?
tired. It was a long day, but it was exhausting watching the debate, the energy that, especially President Trump brings so much energy. It's just unbridled energy. And I mean, not just to a debate, but the way he travels and speaks and the schedule he keeps, I don't see how he just has the energy to do it. But I don't really think debates serve much of a purpose other than 90 minutes of entertainment. I think most people have their mind made up. I don't think a debate's ever changed my mind. And one thing about debates, some people that are sort of slow and deliberate in their thought process, which being president is a good thing, may not perform as well in a debate where you're just on the spur of the moment. Got to answer sometimes some tough questions. So I don't think it was entertaining, but it was exhausting.
And sometimes, and I've been involved with these debates on a local level, sometimes the moderators can play a pivotal role of whether it's good or not so good.
I think moderators have a hard time restraining themselves. I think maybe one candidate will answer a question and the moderator may think that there's a follow-up, and then next thing you know, he's having a discussion with the candidate. At one point, President Trump said last night, I guess I'm going to have to debate you too, Chris. But it's hard for a moderator. Chris, in the promotion leading up to it, Chris said, if I do my job, people will say that was a great debate. Who was the moderator? I think everybody's going to remember who the moderator was last night.
I think so too. Randy Jinks, probate judge of Talladega County, our guest this morning. And as a probate judge, and we're talking about some of these special dates that we need to remember, oftentimes we as just citizens, we don't think about these dates and stuff till, it's right here on us, and basically it's right here on us now.
It is, but you still have time. I had a young lady last night that turns 18 on October the 17th. Filled out her application, registered to vote. I've got it in the truck. I'll turn it in the 18th, and she'll get to vote in this race. It slips up on you. Another date to remember is with the sudden passing of Ron Johnson. In January, we'll have a general election to fill Ron's seat for the remainder of his term. And that'll be January the 19th of 2021.
And that in itself was somewhat confusing because we had Republicans that were going to run against each other, and one didn't qualify or something.
One qualified, but then was disqualified at the state party level. I'm not sure on what basis that they determined that disqualification. So basically what we had was one Republican candidate qualified and one Democrat. So it eliminated the primary and the runoff process. And now we just have to go straight to the general election part. I was in so hopes that all this could have been done in a manner that would allow the general election to have been on the ballot in November with everything else, and we could have wrapped it all up. But I guess the law states that from the time you qualify, there's so many days to the primary, and there has to be so many days between the primary and runoff. So it is what it is.
So this one's in January, right?
January the 19th of 2021.
Okay, all right.
And that person will be sworn in and be participating in the legislature this year.
Okay.
When they go in session.
Randy Jinks, our guest this morning. Any surprises other than COVID that you found in your first year or so as probate judge?
No, and let me address one thing. I had a gentleman come in my office about 2 weeks ago, and he says, Judge, can you give me a list of all the polling places and their addresses? And I said, sure, can I email it to you? And I did, and he thanked me in an email. But he told me, he says, there's a lot of people are scared. And I said, well, is it because of COVID? He said, no, people are being told that we're not going to be using all the polling places that we've used in the past. I said, let me explain something. This election will be just like any other election that we've had in a general election. I said, the only difference is we will have to take precautions for COVID. Mm-hmm. We will have masks provided for our poll workers, shields, gloves. We'll have wipes, disinfectant to keep everything clean for our people coming to vote. I said, the only difference is the sanitation part of it. I said, we're going to use the same amount of polling places. We're probably going to add a few extra poll workers because I'm expecting a heavy turnout. But any talk like that is just, some people in campaigns, it's a tactic to try to make things confusing, to alarm people to think maybe they'll go vote. But this election is going to be just like the rest of them. I expect it to go smooth. I expect it to be hectic because of the number. I expect an extremely heavy turnout, and which is a good thing. So I want to encourage everybody to go vote, but it's going to be just typical like they always have, and we'll have a few snags, but usually by you get into the polling, the election day about an hour in to polls open and get about 8:30. You got any bugs worked out, and it's smooth sailing. It's just a long, tough day, and God, I don't know what we do with our poll workers.
Talking about the poll workers, and our hats off to those people who do that. A lot of seniors do work as poll workers. Are you concerned that as us seniors kind of ride off into the sunset, we've got another group of people out there that'll step in and do it?
Yes, it does concern me, and I've talked to Ken Brewer and Chris Norwood, Ken with the Silicaca paper and Chris Norwood with the Daily Home, and they've done an article a couple of weeks ago about the importance and the need for poll workers, and they've agreed to continue this conversation in the public, and you perhaps could help us with that too, Jimmy Dale. We've got to recruit some younger poll workers. We may even, I've thought about maybe going out to big businesses, big corporations that might, I've heard this happen in some places where like a big corporation, if they had an employee that wanted to be a poll worker, that they would subsidize them, give them their normal pay for working a day, if they wanted to take that day and go perform a civic duty and be a poll worker.
It's not like poll workers make $1 million for doing this.
No, they're going to make $50 more than they normally make because of the CARE Act. That's money that's provided through the Secretary of State's office. So they're going to make $50 more than they used to do. And I have every intention of going and talking to the county commission when this whole process is over about us addressing what we pay our poll workers, because it's at least a 15-hour day. Mm-hmm. Right now they're paid $75. They got $100 in the runoff because of the CARE Act. They're going to get $125 this time. Plus they get $25 for attending the school. But it's worth a lot more than that to us. I don't know if you could put a monetary value on what it's worth to us.
Well, you're dealing with a lot of people like me that come to the polls, we want to vote right then, and we don't want to wait. We don't want to provide any identification or anything.
Well, you're dealing with the public, and sometimes that can be testing, but you've got to keep your composure and try to explain things to people. And we tell all our poll workers, if somebody comes in, they're adamant about wanting to vote, let them cast a provisional vote to keep any kind of argument or disruption at the polling place. And then our Board of Registrars will look at it and they'll investigate, and if they are indeed qualified to register, their vote will cast. If not, it'll be set aside. But we don't want altercations in the polling place. And let me say this, we cannot refuse anybody from voting if they don't wear a mask. But yet, I do encourage, for the safety of everybody involved in the process, put a mask on when you come to vote.
And there are people who are determined. They haven't worn a mask, and they're not going to wear a mask now. So what do you do?
Well, you just encourage them and hope for the best. I got mine in my pocket.
Yeah.
I got so many masks. I have to find my reading glasses every morning before I can find my mask.
You have to wash those things,
You mean you have to wash
either
them?
throw them away or whatever. Randy Jinks with us this morning. Ron Johnson, who was State House Representative for many, many years, since the late 70s, when his sudden passing, we think, well, they just good old boys or just for their community. But Ron Johnson was one of those guys who was very, very instrumental, not just in his district, but he was very well thought of across the state of Alabama.
Well, Ron was, I guess, the oldest member of the legislature. He had a very great and detailed knowledge of the workings of the legislature. Ron wasn't always the most pleasant person to talk to. That could be trying, but he had a good understanding of how the legislature worked, and you just don't replace anybody that whoever gets elected will have to go in and study and learn the process and the workings, and so they can be effective for us as well.
Yeah, and that's election.
I thought you were going to get in that, Jimmy.
No. I've known Ron Johnson or knew Ron Johnson for many, many years, and what you see is what you got.
Absolutely.
Never any question about it. And his language wasn't some of the best, but he always got to the point. Randy Jinks, probate judge, Talladega County, our guest this morning here on Daybreak Live. The election is coming up. I want to encourage you to do what you got to do to get the polls and vote. And let's go over those dates again before we go today.
October 19th is the last day to register to vote. October the 29th, the last day to apply for an absentee ballot. November the 2nd is the last day to turn in an absentee ballot. And October 29th is the last day that you can physically go to the Judicial Building in Talladega and cast an absentee ballot in person.
All right. Randy Jinks, our guest this morning. Randy, always a pleasure. Anything else we wanted to share this morning?
I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. Appreciate the opportunity to come on. If there's ever any issue going on in the county and you would like to talk to me about it, if I can't get down here, you've got my cell phone number. I'll be glad to do a phone interview. We're open to the public, day or night. It doesn't matter. I tell people, I say, if you have an issue, call me in the middle of the night. I can always take a nap sometime to catch up on a little sleep. But
it hadn't been that long since you're knocking on doors and wearing out them shoes.
That's right.
Randy, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Randy Jinks, probate judge of Talladega County, our guest this morning. Daybreak continues right after this.